All right, y'all know how I always say in practically every single video, hey, if there's a topic you want me to cover in another video, all you gotta do is suggest it and I'll do it. Well, you subscribers, I swear, y'all never do that. Until recently, a subscriber by the name of Biology Evolution stated that they wanted me to make a video on poetry exercises. So, I keep my promises, you suggest it, I'll make it. Here is the 8 best poetry exercises. These are the best in my own personal experience, so obviously there might be some that are better, whatever. But we're gonna start it off with a poetry exercise I like to call books first and last. So what you simply do is you take a book that preferably you haven't read before, and you go to the first sentence of the book. In this case, it is, I try not to think of him. You go to the last sentence of the book, and I have no idea where we're going. And you use that as the first and last sentence of the poem you plan on writing. You might be wondering, well, why would you do something like that? Well, you have no context for whatever the author is trying to talk about, and you are going to create the context for which you can connect those two sentences. It's a great way to keep yourself on your toes as a writer. So yeah, I would highly suggest y'all give that a shot. Again, that's called books first and last. The second technique, this is something I have even more experience with. It is called stream of consciousness. And what you essentially do is you take a sheet of paper and you write nonstop for a certain amount of time. You can decide, I like to do 5 minutes, right? Write whatever comes to mind without thinking about it whatsoever. So it's like a stream of consciousness. You're not really thinking about the words hitting the page. It's just whatever comes to the surface of your mind, you just write it, you know? And it's going to be trash. I'm telling you now, it will be trash. If it is not trash, you're doing it wrong, because that means you're thinking about what you're writing too heavily. But the whole point is when you finish for say 5 minutes of writing nonstop, you're going to look within the chaos, within the mess, for the gold, for the treasure. There's going to be a bit in there where it's like, oh, I can actually work with that. And you might underline it, highlight it, or circle it and pull that out and actually make a much better poem out of that. You know what I'm saying? Because there might be some things in your subconscious that might be hard to access because you're thinking too much. You know what I'm saying? So give the stream of consciousness technique a shot. You'd be surprised. The next exercise I'd like to recommend is called poem in the manner of. And what you simply do is you find a poet that you enjoy an awful lot. For example, for me, that might be Maya Angelou. A lot of you know that I'm a big Maya Angelou fan. Well, I would find some of the poems I enjoy from her the most and try to write my own poem using her similar style. The benefit here is that you get to find out what attributes or what devices the poet uses and why their writing is so effective. You know what I'm trying to say? It's one thing to just say, oh, I enjoy this writer so much, I want to be just like them, or I want to write as well as them. It's another thing to actually sort of reverse engineer their work, pick it apart, find out what techniques they're using, use it yourself so that you can better improve your writing. I believe it's a poet by the name of Deborah Mouton who says that mimicry is the basis of understanding. I heard her say that once. I don't know if she's the originator of that quote, but the point really is poem in the manner of is a great exercise for that. Next up, we have something I call haiku stanzas. It's just like the name implies. Make a poem where each stanza of the poem is actually a haiku. Haikus are 3 lines where the first line of the stanza is a 5-syllable line, the second line is a 7-syllable line, and the third line is a 5-syllable line. So each stanza will be 5 syllables. The beauty of this exercise is it helps you be concise in your language. If you've written a haiku, you'll know what I'm talking about. It is very hard to explain a lot with so few syllables to use. You know what I mean? So if you have each stanza like that, everything will be straight to the point, and it'll benefit writers who really suck at getting to the point. They might have a lot of filler words in there. Maybe they have so many articles and they're not necessary. Well, when it comes to haiku stanzas, you don't want to waste a single syllable. So using this haiku stanza exercise is very beneficial. And in fact, I actually got a poem published using haiku stanzas. I think I've showcased it on the channel once, like within a separate video. Yeah, so you might even get it published, you never know. I like to call this next poetry exercise the 5-for-5 synonym swap. And what this exercise entails is you find 5 nouns or 5 verbs that you use commonly within any one of your poems, and you are going to swap them out with another synonym, okay? As writers, we tend to get into certain writing patterns that if someone reads your work enough, can feel predictable and redundant. You don't want to become stagnant in terms of your vocabulary. So a great way to overcome that hump would simply be taking a thesaurus, choosing one or two of your poems and swapping 5 of the nouns or 5 of the verbs with other words that can take the place of them fairly well. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, give that a shot. The 5 for 5 synonym swap, it's helped me quite a bit. It's prevented me from sounding like a broken record between my poems, you know? All right, I like to call this next poetry exercise the Ecphrasis narrative. Now, if you don't know what an Ecphrasis is, it's simply where you take any work of art. It could be a painting, it could be a sculpture, it could be a photo, it could even be a song, technically. I guess it could, you know? And you write a poem about that work of art. But in this case, specifically with the Ecphrasis narrative, you are going to create a storyline concerning something in the work of art. So if it's a sculpture, let's say of a, actually, no. Let's do the Mona Lisa, okay? If I wanted to write an Ecphrasis narrative about the Mona Lisa, I would maybe talk about her origin story, where she came from, why she's smiling in the painting, things like that. You know what I'm trying to say? People who tend to focus on the lyric side of poetry more so than the narrative will greatly benefit from this exercise. All right, the remaining 2 exercises I'm about to recommend were actually suggested to me by my woman. And the first one is called Draw from a Hat. In this exercise, like the name implies, you're going to take a hat, take 20 strips of paper, write words on each of them, random words that aren't really connected in any kind of way. You're going to put them in the hat and you are going to draw 5. Now you are going to use these 5 words in the poem. That's pretty much it, all right? It ain't that complicated, if I'm being honest. I would say that if the 20 words you choose to put in the hat you are unfamiliar with or you don't use very commonly, that would be a great way to, you know, stretch and exercise your writing muscles. So give that a shot, and yeah, let me know what you think of that. The last poetry exercise I'm recommending to y'all today is what I like to call the store product persona. And what this entails is you're simply going to write from the perspective of an item in a store. So it could be like a vacuum cleaner in Walmart or an apple in the produce line of Kroger or something like that. Some of y'all might not know what Kroger is. Point is, you're gonna write from the perspective of that item and how it actually wants to be bought by consumers. There's a plethora of things that can come out of this, but one thing specifically is you can strengthen your use of persona, taking on a different entity or figure's identity in your own writing, because it's not always that the speaker is the poet. However, a lot of times that is the case, but you don't want to get stuck in that. I would say this exercise is a great way of deviating from you yourself always being the main subject of the poem. So definitely give that a shot. Actually, give all of these a shot. Let me know what you think in the comment section. And again, don't forget to suggest topics for videos, all right? If you do that, I'll be sure to get to it eventually, you know what I'm saying? So all right, thank y'all for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe, all right? With that, I'm out. Deuces.